All right, so I'm looking at this grammar series of posts, two in different situations on FI. NB says, consider the grammatical function of two in these sentences. I went to the store, I wanted to go, I went to get some bananas. And I went to the store is a prepositional phrase modifying went, and to is a preposition. It answers the question went where, I agree. And I wanted to go is an infinitive phrase that is the object of wanted, and to is a particle that marks go as an infinitive. Okay, I agree with that. And I went to get some bananas. I'm not so sure. To get some bananas seems like a phrase that modifies went and answers the question went why. I want it to be a prepositional phrase. I would make to a preposition and get an infinitive that functions as an object. Is that what's happening here? So tentatively, I think no, although I see what Anne is doing, and I think I understand what problem she's trying to solve and the way that she's going about it. What I would say, so just stepping back, so I went to get some bananas. So went is a form of go, goes in intransitive. So this is not going to be an object. So this has to be something else. So this is going to be some kind of modifier. There's actually, if I recall, a lengthy discussion at some point about home as in I went home, which is sort of a weird exception, and which I think we decided is really like short for I went to home in order to resolve that intransitive issue. So, okay, so this is going to be a modifier of some kind. Now, Anne suggests treating it as a prepositional phrase. And I guess my issue with that, or my alternative to that, would be, well, I mean, we could say to as a preposition and get as an infinitive without its particle, but infinitives can serve a variety of functions in a sentence other than the role of the primary finite verb. They can't do that. You don't say he go home or he to go home, but other stuff they can do. So my suggestion would be, why not just say that to get is an adverb, and I guess that adverb, it's an adverb with an object because infinitives can have objects. Object is bananas, adjective is some, and then that's it. So this is just an adverbial infinitive phrase with an object modifying went, telling us the purpose of going. So I quickly Googled and I found a few different pages, but this is just one example. Examples of infinitives are infinitive phrases used as adverbs. To complete the math problem, you divide by x. So this is pretty clear. There's just a subject here and a verb. This is a prepositional phrase. And then we've got this adverbial infinitive phrase at the beginning, but we could move it over here if we wanted to, because adverbs often have that property, and it's telling us why we divide. Likewise, I bought paint to finish the picture from my mom. Why did I buy the paint? Finish the picture from my mom. You must add the flour first to make the cookies. I read that the other way around. I guess having it after makes it kind of clearer for me. So sometimes I'll mentally, if they've put this sort of phrase in a comma at the beginning, I'll often just mentally move it on over to the end. So I think these illustrate the point, and these are all telling us the purpose of doing the verb, or doing the verb to the object in some cases. So I think that seems like a neater way to read it to me than doing the prepositional phrase thing. Just treat the infinitive, or treat this grouping of words, I should say, because I don't want to assume, as an infinitive adverbial phrase with an object, as opposed to, because this doing the preposition thing and then the infinitive that functions as an object seems less elegant and more complicated to me. So that's my take. So we'll see what other people say. That was actually faster than my first take of the material, which ScreenFlow, again, 8. Well, I didn't have that much, but I had plenty of hard drive space, so I don't... ScreenFlow just doesn't like my iMac sometimes, I suppose. Okay, so let's move on to the responses. I think to get is an infinitive, like to jump, and I went to jump, or I wanted to jump. Some bananas is the subject of get. I would say it's the object. I would say it's the object not just because of the placement, which I think is relevant, like the relative placement of the words, but also just, I think conceptually, the objects are the bananas are the things being gotten, and the getter is actually the I. It's within the sentence, but not within the infinitive phrase. So I disagree with that. Although I don't know that I'm not super confident about that, because I don't know that I've analyzed like a million examples of infinitive phrases, but I feel pretty confident. So like same case as your middle case, I think. It was the middle case. I wanted to go. Yeah, I mean, it's similar. And a helicopter flying by or something. Okay. Seems to me like I went to get some bananas can mean two things by the way route. A sense of reach, work. Go to a place to get bananas. Start to move to get bananas. Like preparing to get bananas from a fruit bowl next. I think I've read it very much as the first one. I went to go get some bananas seems consistent with one but not two, so maybe go is implied. Thought went is the past tense of go, so maybe that's not right. The command go get some bananas doesn't feel like it would work if the fruit bowl was right next to you. That'd just be get some bananas. Yeah, I think I agree with that, because you wouldn't have to go anywhere, right? They're there. Like, you don't, if you're just seated at a table with a Thanksgiving meal or something, you don't say, you probably wouldn't say go get some gravy. You'd say pass the gravy, because it's it's just an issue of getting it across the table. I agree. So Alyssa agrees with the first two, which I did as well. And then for the third one, Alyssa says, it seems to me that went here is used in the definition of one, in the sense of definition one in the American Heritage Dictionary. To move or travel, proceed, we will go by bus. Solicitors went from door to door seeking donations. Yeah. That sense is intransitive. Yep. Doesn't take an object. So the best way I can think of to parse your sentence is with implied words. I went in order to get some bananas. Now that's interesting. I went. Then in order is a preposition, and to get is an infinitive that is the object of the preposition. So my only objection to that would be, is it actually necessary? Like, based on reading the infinitive as an adverb directly, we don't need to pound it into a preposition and prepositional phrase, implied or otherwise. Let's see what Elliot said. I wonder if Elliot agrees with the prepositional phrase reading, or just agrees with not treating it as an object. But I agree with Elliot in the sense that, yeah, to get some bananas isn't a place you can go. Went never takes an object, right? You can't say I went to the store either. And then he mentions the I went home thing. So let's look at Max. I went home, I went away, I went abroad, I went wide. Now what's going on here? Give examples of what might be objects and complements of went below this next section. Alright. I'm a little confused by this. Seems like went can take a complement. I went crazy. That's different. Yeah, there's lots of meanings of went, so you gotta watch that. Yeah, and so Elliot noted that Max is bringing up different definitions of went, different meanings. Let's look at the other Max posts. So Alyssa had said the use of went was intransitive in the sentence that Anne was curious about. and then wanted to use in order, implied in order for the purpose of making the sentence parse out correctly. And then Max asks, what about this definition from the same page? Traverse, only 2 of the runners went the entire distance. Well, that's a different, I think that's short for transitive. So this is an entirely different form. And you notice that the runners went the distance. People, you could also say in a different tense, you go the distance. You can, but there's an object there. But there's like an object there with this form. You go the distance, you go the extra mile, and so on. It's just very different than the went that we were talking about. So we could say like, I went the distance between me and my bananas. Yeah, no. Because like this has an idiomatic meaning. I mean, it's a different meaning. And so it's structured differently also because it's transitive. And it's got the object after, which is a noun. And then this whole thing, I mean, you can read it different ways, but like when I would still expect a different verb here though, like I walked the distance, I traveled the distance. Went has an association here that in that construction that at least makes this awkward because it calls to mind this like idiomatic phrase. So which sounds a little silly in the context of talking about bananas. I went to get bananas. So let's look at number 2. I went to get bananas. Is it wrong to read that as traversing the distance between you and the bananas so you can pick them up? Traverse sounds pretty similar in meaning to move or travel. Well, it's similar, but it's transitive. He traversed the forest. A catwalk that traversed a vast cavernous space. So you gotta be careful of that. I went the long way. This feels like the traverse definition. No, because I don't think so. Because you traverse the thing like the cavern or the distance. But this is kind of subtle maybe, and I'm not 100% clear, but well, actually maybe it is. Maybe it is. Because this is noun, so the form is right, and a long way is something you can travel across or through. So, yeah, okay, that one I think makes sense. Right, so Max acknowledges he's bringing up different meanings of went. Okay, and B meant go to a place to get bananas. Makes sense to me. Oh, interesting. So she considered in order being implied. I went in order to get some bananas, but I think order is a noun here and is the object of the preposition in, but still leaves to get some bananas as a phrase. The reason I think the phrase functions as an adverb is that it describes the purpose for went, which is an adverb kind of thing to do. I agree with that. So regarding the traverse stuff, Anne says, you could be traversing a distance for some reason, but the distance would be an object and the reason would be an adverb. Yeah. So like if we imagine I went the distance to win glory, then the distance is an object and to win glory would be an adverb of some kind. No, there's more. A lot of discussion about this. Okay. So regarding the in order stuff, Anne had said order is a noun. And Alyssa disagrees. When order is not preceded by in, it has a different meaning. Therefore, it doesn't make sense to treat in and order separately. I got this argument from Huddleston's Cambridge Grammar of the English Language. No, I want that. Which analyzes in order as either a prepositional phrase or a compound preposition. So, Chapter 7, Prepositions and Prepositional Phrases. Expressions licensing content clauses or infinitivals. In case, in order, in 2 minds. I'm not sure about this. In 2 minds. I think that's changed and now it's of 2 minds. But, alright, let's see what this says. When the nouns case, order, and minds occur without the preceding in, they do not have the same meaning and do not accept clausal components. We therefore take the first constituent division to be between the underlined expression and the following clause. This gives a layered head structure like 9c with in case and in order and to mind prepositional phrases, I assume, taking clausal complements, except that again, the first two might alternatively be considered compound preposition. In case takes a non-expandable declarative clause, that is not permitted in case that it rains, and also allows a PP in case of rain. In order takes a to infinitival or declarative clause in which that is more or less obligatory. In order that we might get some peace of mind. The Cambridge stuff is saying that in order is a prepositional phrase and to avoid rush hour traffic is a clausal complement. I take they're saying that in order is a prepositional phrase to mean that they think in is the preposition and order is its object. This does not contradict what I wrote above, but you seem to be saying it does. I'm guessing a little at what a clausal complement is. I think it's a complement that's needed in order to complete in order, and it's clausal because it's a clause. Back to the sentence I originally posted about. I want to get some bananas. If we say there are implied word and it's really I went in order to get some bananas, then what? I think in order to get some bananas modifies went. I'm okay with saying that in order is a prepositional phrase that modifies went to get some, and to get some bananas is a causal complement of in order. Is it possible to analyze my sentence, I went to get some bananas, without any implied words? I'd like it to be.